Inviting back to the stage my friend here, Emily Scarr. Emily is the Senior Director of Maryland PIRG. I gave her introduction earlier, so I'm going to let you just jump right into it, Emily, if that's good with you.
Sure. Happy to be back. I hope you all are doing well after many hours. It's still raining here in Baltimore, so a perfect day to be staring at our screens. So I wanted to take a few minutes to run through a handful of utility oversight bills. I haven't seen all of these, but I have had some conversations with the sponsors. So I'm going to do my best to relay what I know since not all these sponsors were able to be here today. And I'm happy to follow up or encourage you to reach out to them if you're interested in one of their bills. Maryland PIRG is still figuring out exactly everything we're supporting ourselves. But one thing is clear, if you heard my presentation earlier, we really need to hold our investor-owned utilities accountable and make sure they're properly regulated in order to ensure that they provide safe, affordable, and reliable energy, and make sure they can serve as good partners as we smooth the transition to clean energy for home heating and cooling. And unfortunately, wasteful spending from our utilities that has led to these rapidly rising rates and pressure on our rates means there's just less financial opportunity to invest in things we actually want to invest in clean energy, in the transition, in energy efficiency. All of it is sort of being pushed back against because people are just can't afford their bills. So there's a handful of bills that are looking to direct the PSC to hold the utilities more accountable or to, in statute, just hold the utilities more accountable that I'm going to run through. The first is Breaking Stride. This is from Delegate Boafo. So I mentioned earlier, last year we passed the Ratepayer Protection Act, which adds consumer protections to the Stride law and to all gas capital spending. Delegate Boafo is looking to go a step further to ensure we aren't spending wastefully on our gas pipeline expansion and new gas pipes. So what the bill does is builds on what the Ratepayer Protection Act does last year by repealing the Stride statute entirely. Doing that would end the ability for gas utilities to add a surcharge to customers' bills for their Stride programs. Um, he's also considering adding language to completely prohibit gas pipeline spending to be eligible for advanced recovery or accelerated recovery, excuse me, for gas capital spending. So that would basically say you can't get the spending approved in advance through a multi-year rate plan either. So that would sort of shift the incentive for wasteful spending to ensure that all spending was the investors are taking the risk and then have to justify that spending before it can be passed on to ratepayers. And importantly, the bill will also maintain the progress we made last year, that language that requires gas capital spending to demonstrate cost effectiveness, as well as the utilities looking at alternatives to replacement, including repair, relining, or non-pipeline alternatives, including electrification. So that's the first bill. The next is lowering utility rate of return. I believe this is going to be Delegate Johnson's bill. The bill would direct the Public Service Commission to lower the return on investment for investor-owned utilities. I mentioned earlier that it varies, different types of debt, different types of investment, but the high return rates that utilities are getting for capital investments, working to bring that down to sort of right-size their profits in a way based with what the public needs in the 20th century. We don't need them to be, as Laurel always says, Bob the Builder is just massively building right now, especially on some projects. The third bill is banning utility campaign contributions. And this is going to be Delegate Baylor. According to the State Board of Elections, Exelon and its subsidiaries donated $125,000 to Maryland candidates in 2025, second only to the Maryland Retailers Association. Maryland PIRG supports banning all corporate campaign donations directly to candidates, as many states already do and is already prohibited by the federal government. But utilities are uniquely worth restricting. Investor-owned utilities are in a position where the state has direct control over how much profit they are authorized to deliver to their shareholders, right? It's not capitalism in this sense. They don't have competition. We pay for it. So this dynamic makes utilities' political dealings more vulnerable to corruption, or certainly the perception of corruption in the public's eye, which is a good reason to be watchful of their political spending and to restrict their ability to donate directly to candidates. In fact, from 1935 until 2005, under federal law, investor-owned utilities weren't allowed to make any donations to state-level candidates, and they're still not allowed to make contributions to federal candidates. But that law was repealed in 2005. So, I think it's an interesting time to look at this and figure out, can we restrict this type of spending? And there's precedent for it in Maryland. There are already some restrictions on certain online gaming or I think it's online lottery operators from making donations to political candidates. The fourth bill is capping how much utilities can charge ratepayers for executive pay and bonuses. This is going to be Senator Hester and Delegate Crosby. It was pre-filed, so it's HB1 and SB2, which is always a good sign and shows that the leadership of both chambers are taking a really strong look at the legislation. What this would do is add restrictions to how much, again, these utilities can pay their executives and certain staff. I think it caps it at about 110% of what public service commissioners make right now, as well as prohibiting types of bonuses. So they can't just give them extra money through bonuses either. To be clear, they can still pay their staff whatever they want. It's just that they cannot pass those giant salaries onto ratepayers onto our bills. They will have to, if they're going above this 110%, they would have to pay for that out of shareholder profits. There's some an additional language in this bill because I just got to take a look at it around directing the PSC to look at some other non-required expenses and sort of rein those in, or directing the utilities, I think, to look at some other expenses. I have to look more closely, but it's building on what happened last year. We were prohibiting the utilities from passing on trade association dues and private jets to ratepayers, just continuing to look and restrict which type of expenses they're allowed to charge to us. And then I'll add one more. There's from Delegate Allen, he's got a bill to study restructuring Maryland's electric utility industry and fully to create a task force to do a study on like alternatives to how we're running our utilities right now. So those are just five bills. As everyone knows, energy is and affordability is such a big issue now. There could be more that are coming, but those are five that have hit my radar and worth people paying attention to.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, as always, for such a great overview. I'm really impressed, always impressed with how much you have your hands on and how much you're able to work on. I don't know when you sleep, but thanks for all you bring to the table, Emily, and for all the support you have on all this legislation. It really means a lot.
Thank you.